part one of this series, I talked to you about how to get your design together for your own bag pattern, whether it be a sketch or just some notes that are jotted down in a notepad, notebook, whatever you want to write on. You could do it in cuneiform on tablets, for all I care. However, the content of this second video is actually going to be taking you through the process of how you get from this to insert PDF file here. So you're probably wondering, okay, what's a PDF? Well, that's a file format that was introduced by Adobe, and it means portable document format. I've recorded that 5 times now. Anyway, it's a popular format that's used by indie designers to distribute their patterns in a digital format so they can be downloaded and printed at home. That way you don't have to trudge out to a physical store and grab a printed pattern and pray that there's a 50% off coupon somewhere in the mix. If you've gone through the first video, then you've probably already sketched out the pattern pieces that you need, and you have a bullet point list of some basic instructions for putting together the bag that you want to release in pattern format. So the problem that we hope to solve in this particular video is how to get this lovely sketch into a digitized format. Disclaimer time! This video is not going to be an in-depth tutorial on Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. These are the 2 tools that I prefer to use. It doesn't mean you have to use them. So there's a couple of different ways that you can get this into your computer. What I actually use is a good old-fashioned scanner. I have a printer scanner combo, and I use that, and I will just scan it in. The other thing you can do is you can just take a picture with your phone if you want. The only thing is sizing. You got to worry about the sizing, so it's good to know, if you do it with your phone at the very least, that you mark about how many inches this is. So if you're going to take a picture, set a ruler on top of it, and then you can compare against it in your image editing software, like I'll be using Photoshop. Cool. So I decided for brevity's sake to just use my phone and take a photo, because that's the most accessible way of doing this. Maybe not everybody has a scanner, but if you do, good for you. So I took my photo and I brought it into my computer, and then I now have it in my photo editing software, just editing software in general. And I use Adobe Photoshop, as I've mentioned a couple of times before. So one of the things that I want to emphasize, though, is that I will put free options for editing software in the description below. And again, this is just my way of doing things. You don't have to do it this way. So now that we have that, I'm going to move right along, and I want this to be roughly, 4 or 5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a digital guide, because as you can tell, this here is probably not exactly correct. It's a little skewed. I didn't take the photo exactly right. So I'm going to go to new. And first thing is I'm going to create the main piece of paper, so to speak. Whatever it is you want your size of paper to be for the printing format, that's what you're going with. I'm going with a standard letter size of 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to create that. 300 DPI. I kind of glossed over that because that's just what I edit in. That's a high enough resolution for print, so you'll want to do that. Anything lower is going to look grainy. And probably won't expand very well if people want to increase the scale. That happens often. People will increase or decrease. I'm going to copy just the relevant portions of the sketch from the original image, and I'm going to paste it in here. And you can already see, whoa, that's totally wrong. Like, that's wrong. So what I need now is more of like that digital reference, that digital ruler. So this is where I know I'm in 300 DPI. I need to create another image, and I'm going to just put this down to inches to help myself. I only want this to be about 1 inch tall, but I do unfortunately need it to be about 4 inches wide. And the reason for that is I want this new document to match this lovely little ruler here, because then I can resize around it. So I'm going to create this. And you see how teeny this is, right? And we're going to fill that. God, I just want to make sure I did the right thing. Did I do it? No, I did it in the wrong resolution. Son of a biscuit. All right, let me do it again. I'm not recording over it either. Dang it. Okay, that looks a lot better. That looks normal. Okay, let's close the mistake. I see, even I make mistakes. All right. So again, 4 inches wide, 1 inch tall, 300 DPI. The DPI has to match your working file. That's going to end up being your digitized version. So there you go. Otherwise, the measurements won't line up and you'll end up with the world's smallest bag. So I'm going to paste that in here, and we can already see that what is going to end up being printed by 4 inches isn't what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scale my image down to fit in that ruler, my digital ruler. And it doesn't have to be exact. It just needs to be enough to kind of get it to the size that you're expecting for your final pattern. So I can kind of delete that now. And now this little pattern piece that I've scanned in for the photo is ready to be kind of drawn over. I am going to drop, as soon as I get it selected, drop the opacity of my layer just a bit because I want to be able to see the lines that I'm going to be drawing. I don't want to have a problem where I can't see what's going on because I used black gel ink and now I'm using a black stroke for the shape that I'm going to be drawing. I like to use the shape tool here. This is just the pen tool where you can kind of plot points like you would do in an embroidery software, little embroidery application. So I'm just going to plot my points in here where I would want them to go. And I'm going to have to adjust this. There's no way that I have this right out of the gate. So there we go. And now I can go in here with the selection, point selection, direct select tool. And I can adjust where I want things to go. And what we'll want to do is make these curved at some point. I can remember how to do it so that I can kind of like make them look really nice and go around those curves I've created. But right now it looks really boxy. So that's what I'm going to do is insert points to give me directional feedback so I can start adjusting and pivoting these points around. So if I zoom in a bit, we can see this a little better. I am going to right click here and I'm going to add an anchor point. You see these tiny little dots? Those dots are awesome because they create a curve between these points. So I still want to have the 90-degree angle up there, but now this is curved and I can go down here and I can add an anchor point and I can pull this over here. And for this section here, I am actually going to convert that point. If I can get this, I'm going to use my convert point tool and I'm going to go whoopsh, whoopsh, like that and stretch at it because I want to make it a little more curved because this one down here is fine, looks great, but this point was a little too rigid. You could tell that there was a spot there. Now, ultimately, when somebody prints this out and starts cutting it away from the paper, they're not going to notice that. That's like not even going to be a thing. So, whatever fight you choose, just choose wisely. So all I have to do is adjust to kind of see how I want everything to look. And then I have my pattern piece. And that's basically it. So the other thing that I would suggest adding is all of the text. So I'll go ahead and do that. Piece A, just change the color so we can actually see it. Yay. Oh my. Why is that looking like that? Oh my God. Sometimes I wonder what is wrong with my head. There we go. Okay, there's piece A. And so if you were to hide this, da 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 da, then that's great. And of course, we want to make sure that we have fold. And I'm a lot more, I'll actually create like a square or something around it. So I will just do something stylistic like this. It doesn't need to be this fancy either. So we'll select and I'll modify. I'll contract by 5. And I do make these slightly different in terms of their weight, because if you do want to allow somebody who makes acrylic patterns to sell your pattern in acrylic format, which I highly suggest, it'll make it easier on them to know, okay, this needs to be an etching, not a cut line. So, and now that we have that, there's our piece. And that was it for digitizing it and getting it into this format. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what I do to get it into a format that has your instructions and your pattern pieces. Probably the easiest thing that you can do is write up your instructions and get your instruction images embedded into a Google Doc. I just use this because it's free, it's accessible, and I can share it with others when I'm collaborating on instructions to kind of make things as clear as possible. I do oftentimes trust my testers to be able to go in and edit these files for me. It's not like I can't recover it in any case. So you'll see that I have one page of really just not good text. It's not really a pattern, but what you want to do is make sure you have one blank page per pattern piece, or at least one blank page per set of pattern pieces that you intend to be able to be printed on your paper size, remembering, of course, that there are margins. So you can't go edge to edge because printers can't go edge to edge in most cases, especially a domestic printer. So I'm just going to add a second page. I'm not going to put anything on it. I just want a second page in there. And then what I'm going to do, I'll make sure it's saved. Usually it is. I mean, it's a cloud document. I'm going to go to File, Download, and I'm going to download it as a PDF file. So that's going to put example pattern part 2 into my downloads. And that is when I jump into Illustrator. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Illustrator and I'm going to open the file that I had just printed to PDF and downloaded from Google Docs. And you can see that you can open all of them for all of the pages, or you can open a range. I go ahead and I open all of them and I'll let it do its thing. Do 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 boo, shooby doo wop bop ba doo bop. There we go. Took long enough. And then this is going to sound so dumb, but what I actually do is this is going to be the same size and DPI as the file that I created in Photoshop. So everything is lined up and everything should be going into this the exact same way that it appears in Photoshop, especially now that I've scaled everything and adjusted it using a digital ruler. So I'm just going to zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. I select everything. And if you want, if you want to do this, you can save this to a file, like an image file. But I actually just do a Control-Shift-C in Photoshop and it selects everything that's visible as is and puts it onto the clipboard. And then I just come in here and I paste it in. And you don't have to do it that way. I mean, that's just what I do and I love it. It works, at least for me. And so now my pattern piece is in there. So the other thing that you can do if you want is you can hide the background, Control-Shift-A again, or Control-A to select, then Control-Shift-C to copy. And then I can paste just that one piece in there. And then as you can see, I can snap it and make it centered because I couldn't do that before. The other thing I can do on this page is I could load up, the 1 inch mark that's a guide for printing. I could do all sorts of things. The thing I would say is don't organize your pieces in the Photoshop file, just one folder per piece or whatever, maybe even one Photoshop file per piece. Just depends on what you want to do organizationally, but this is what helps. Now I basically already have this PDF opened. I am directly editing this PDF file that I had downloaded from my Google Drive. So all I have to do is save it to my computer, not to the cloud. And I can actually take it and go to my downloads. Where are my downloads? Oh, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want to print it I want to do the PDF. And I can just select the same one that I had and overwrite it. It just doesn't let you overwrite by default. And I just use default settings. Yeah. Update the links. So now I can go to my downloads. I'm going to hide that because God only knows what's in there. And I can open it. And you see, here's the original page that came from Google Docs. And now there's my pattern piece that's in there. So now what I can do is I can send this out to my testers. I know that's a lot to absorb. That's a whole lot of information. I just kind of flung at you like a spider monkey with a load of poo. But hopefully that walks you through the digitization process. We now have this beautiful photo that or sketch that I actually made specifically for this video. It's why I love you all so very much. We've taken this and put it into a PDF file. Now I can email that file to people. I can post it in a Discord, put it in a Facebook group, and let my testers go at it. That's kind of what you want. However, at this point, you've probably just digitized it. So you need to do your own test. What I would advise at this point is you print out that pattern. You print double. If you have something on a fold like this, I usually print this twice and then just tape them together in the middle. And you want to build it as much as you can out of the paper to make sure that the scale is right, everything looks good, and then you can start cutting into fabric and test it on your own. Whatever you do, please don't inconvenience your testers by sending out something that you yourself have not tested yet. So even though you know it worked when you had it in a sketch format or even in pieces that were already cut out and you were just now putting it in a digitized format, even being off by a 1/4 inch on a measurement can really wreck things. So print it yourself, test it in the paper with tape, whatever it takes, then use the intended materials before you send it to testers. Unless you're paying them to test for you, it's a really small courtesy that you can do to ensure they don't waste materials and time on something that you don't even know if it's going to work or not. And that's it for part 2. In part 3, we're going to discuss how to conduct testing and get yourself to that final push with ease. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel to like, subscribe, leave comments, and all that good fun stuff all YouTubers have to say at the end of their videos.